now. ثُمَّ جَعَلَ لِلْعَقْلِ خَمْسَ وَسَبْعِينَ جُنْدًا. Then Allah created 75 armies for the aql. So then the Imam starts to count out the 75 soldiers one by one. Al-khayr وَهُوَ وَزِيرُ الْعَقْلِ وَجَعَلَ ضِدَّهُ الشَّرْ. So the first soldier is khayr and sharr. And the sharr is the wazir of the jahl. وَالْإِيمَانِ وَضِدُّهُ الْكُفْرِ وَالتَّصْدِيقِ وَضِدُّهُ الْجُحُودِ وَالرَّجَاءِ وَضِدُّهُ الْقُنُودِ وَالْعَدْلِ وَضِدُّهُ الْجَوْرِ. This is a narration that we have. And then it goes on and on and on. And then the Imam says right at the end that these khisal, these qualities, they will never gather together in anyone إِلَّا فِي نَبِيٍّ أَوْ وَصِيٍّ نَبِيٍّ, or a mu'min who Allah has tested their iman. 2016, I believe it was 2016, maybe 17, there was a 2-3 day, full day workshop in Iran. There used to be this institute called Akhlaq, House of Ethics. And their job was just to do research on the latest ethical topic. It's still there, the institute is still there. And they did a 3-day workshop on orientation and introduction to the different disciplines within the field of ethics. So history of ethics, jurisprudence of ethics, meta-ethics, philosophy of ethics, and all of this. So in that, there was a scholar, one of the speeches was about the history of the books and the literature of written on ethics in the Islamic civilization. And the scholar was explaining, and then within that, he starts to critique the books written by famous ethicists like Ibn Miskawayh and Ghazali and all of these big guys that have written books on akhlaq. And he says that Imam Khomeini in his book, in his commentary on the hadith of junud al-aql wal-jahl, he critiques these books. And I thought, let me share at least some highlights from this book and what is the context of this book and what does he talk about in this book, okay? So what is the sequence of this book, right? He references in this book his other previous books like Adab al-Salat, right? Misbah al-Hidayah, his 40 hadiths. These are books you have heard of, right? 6 decades, 7 decades till his ideas actually started to manifest. Okay, but look at what he says in this book, right in the introduction. He says, now that I have started to fill these pages, it is a time of the outbreak of the world war between the Allies and Germany, which has ignited the entire population of the world. And this burning flame and hellish blaze is nothing but the roaring anger of a man-eating beast and a vile monster of the times, which in the name of leadership of Germany has made the world, and especially its own unfortunate nation, miserable and distressed. To what end it will reach, and when will this helpless population be freed from the hands of a few human-shaped animals? And this misery will come to an end, and this dark abode of earth will be illuminated with the divine light of the perfect reformer, meaning Imam al-Mahdi. Oh, Allah has hastened his reappearance. So look, he is writing this at a time where World War II is almost near the end actually, okay? So Imam Khomeini is saying that, look, the problem with some of these akhlaqi books is that they go so advanced, like Ghazali and Ibn Miskawayh, they go so advanced that they don't even focus on the purpose or the meaning of what the Imam was trying to say, or what the hadith is trying to say. And they start going on these technicalities about their own, or like some historical discussion, or some grammatical discussion, or this discussion, that discussion. And he says it kind of loses, and if an average person is reading it, they won't even actually be able to read it. So his intention in this book is that, look, I'm writing this to explain this hadith so that it can be explained to the masses. This is the key difference in this book. He's saying when the Imam is speaking over here, when he is speaking, what is the point of it at the end of the day? Is the point of it just for you to kind of, think about it in your mind, or is the point of it to get your soul into a state of change? When he is speaking, what's the point? So he's saying the books that you're writing, they're not really changing anyone. They just go into this conceptual, repository, and people are engaging with ideas, but the humans are not changing at the end of the day. And the purpose of these narrations is to detach the soul from detach the bird of the soul from the branches of the tree of the world. Right? The bird is sitting the grip is very firm on the branches. To detach the bird, which is the root of the evil, which is the root of evil, the dunya. The human fitrah has two aspects to it. There's a primary aspect to it, like the primary function of it. And then there's a function of it which is what they call like a subsequent function of it. But it is there at the same time. Among the fortunate and the unfortunate, the knowledgeable and the ignorant, the high and the low. He says there's no exception to this. When you say human fitrah, this idea of desire and seeking perfection, he said this is with every single insan. We were not yet subjugated to the limitations of this dunya. And then when we came into this dunya, now we have all of these barriers and weights and veils on us. Okay, and insan can go to the asfal as-safilin. Now once we are in the material realm, because the veils are so heavy, and there are so many, that insan on his own cannot overcome all of these veils. There's too many. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to do? He has to send Anbiya. What a sad situation where someone has lost control of themselves and you spend your entire life's energy, health, wealth and money to only increase yourself in tyranny, pride or greediness. Look at this point. From which you cannot return back nor escape, nor can you escape the power of Allah. What a waste of the favors of Allah. What a waste of God's blessings. You just wasted your life. This is the part where Imam Khomeini says, look at this ayah. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. That if this Quran, if we revealed this Quran on a mountain, you would have seen how the mountain would have crumbled out of humility. And these examples we are giving to all of you, لَعَلَّكُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so you can do tafakkur out of it. Over here, Imam Khomeini says that Allah is saying, what's the point of this example? He's saying, look, the Quran, it is so powerful that the mountain will crumble. So he says, look, if the Quran and the prophetic statements and all of these things are not able to change you, chastity, people are seeking their own pleasures. Whereas what the Imam is saying, that the person's own happiness is dependent on chastity, happiness meaning of preservation, and the happiness of humanity is also linked to this heavenly gift. This force guarantees these personal and collective happiness when it does not exceed the bounds of moderation and does not deviate from the measures of the rational and divine laws, guarantees it. Often a few days or hours of indulgence can disrupt the structure of a noble family, laying the groundwork for their misery and misfortune forever. Obviously, it's in the time of the shadow. What greater crime and betrayal could there be? The very force that was supposed to ensure the continuation of the species, when misused inappropriately and against the measure of the aql, becomes the cause of his non-existence. The same desires that are there for you to preserve yourself, those same desires become the cause of your demise. Is there a way to treat this concealment and darkness? Should someone who values the news of the prophets and heavenly scriptures as little as the news from an immature child be considered a believer? And should the qualities of faith be really affirmed for him? That someone who cannot even understand and treat the news of the Anbiya like he treats and values the news of a 10-year-old child, can this person really be considered a believer and a mu'min and somebody who has iman? Of the times that we are in, society that we are in, family is important, marriage, these are all things that are important. Be very careful. If you are single, still be very careful. If you are married, still be very careful. Right, inshallah, if you're single, you get married soon, inshallah. But your behavior before marriage has a lot of impact. Okay, so be careful with what you do, how you behave, how you live your life. And of course, after marriage as well.